We'll discuss the mitzvah of Birkas Hatorah. In general, in halacha and Jewish law, we make many brachas throughout the day. And in theory or in practice, we try to get 100. David instituted we should make 100 brachas a day, together with Shemona Esrei 3 times a day, perhaps Chazaras Hashatz, and other things. We try to get our 100 brachas. But most brachas we make are mitzvahs d'Rabbanan. Most brachas we make are rabbinical institutions. In fact, many people give a lot of credence to brachas, which is a good thing, and sometimes they feel like if they're not making a bracha, they're not even doing the mitzvah. Like Rav Selevan likes to say over, like the Gemara tells us by Shmini Atzeres. So Shmini Atzeres and Chutz La'aretz, Shmini Atzeres outside the land of Israel. So there are different opinions what you do, different opinions in the Gemara what you do. Do you sit in the sukkah, don't sit in the sukkah, no bracha, yes bracha? So the Gemara concludes, Yasvi Yasvinan Bruche Lo Mevarchinan. You sit in the sukkah, but you don't make a bracha. So Rav Selevan says tongue in cheek. So look what happened. You tell people to sit in the sukkah and not make a bracha. Next thing you know, everyone's eating inside Shmini Atzeres, because they think, oh, I'm not making the bracha, so I'm not doing the mitzvah. Similarly, Rav Selevan said regarding the mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer. By Sfiras HaOmer, we know we count the days between Pesach and Shavuos. And the opinion of the Bahag, or the simple reading of the Bahag, is that if you miss a day, you can no longer continue counting. And the way most assume the Bahag is it's one big mitzvah, so once you miss the mitzvah, you miss one day, there's no point in continuing. However, number one, most people disagree with the Bahag, and technically it's not so clear the Bahag says it. According to Rav Selevan, it doesn't mean that it's one big mitzvah. Really, even the Bahag agrees. Everyone agrees it's 49 separate mitzvahs. So why can't you go back? That's a din of Ritzifa. So part of the count has to be a tzira. But the point being is, so therefore halacha, and it's the way the Shulchan Aruch brings down, and this is the minhag, that if you miss a complete day, so we continue counting. Everyone agrees you have a chiyuv to continue counting, because we probably passed Gemekar Adin, it's 49 separate mitzvahs. Just to be choshesh for the Shitas HaBahag, and the Machaber in general is machmir regarding Safek brachas, because the Machaber goes with the Rambam that you potentially are going to violate an Issa D'Oraisa. So therefore, the Rambam writes, therefore the Machaber writes not to make it. So Rav Selevan points out, you have to know your balabatim, you have to know who you're talking to. You have to know your crowd. In other words, if you're going to tell someone, let's say someone says, Rabbi, I missed day 6, and that's it. Or I missed day 3, I missed day 14, so what should I do? Could I continue counting or not? So you'll say, yeah, count without a bracha. So if it's a Ben Torah, he knows what you mean, or she knows what you mean, so then that's fine. But let's say you know the person, if you tell the person not to count without if you tell the person to count without a bracha, you know that, they're going to, it doesn't really count, I'm not getting the mitzvah, they won't count at all. So Rav Selevan says it's better to rely on the Maker Adin here of every day is a separate mitzvah, and better to count with a bracha than not to count at all, because everyone agrees that you should be counting without a bracha. There's no harm. Everyone agrees it's only a choshes v'shitas. Now Rambam, so the Rav thinks in this case, he thinks even the Bahag agrees it's 49 separate mitzvahs, and therefore apparently he tells some of the Balabatim, whoever he spoke to, this continue counting with the bracha. So either way, in general, brachas are only d'Rabbanan, even though many times they're giving more chashivas than they really have, and which is From a certain aspect, it's a good thing that people are machshav brachas. On the negative side, you don't realize that if you can't make the bracha, you still do the mitzvah. So most brachas are d'Rabbanan. However, one of the exceptions to the rule is, at least there's one bracha according to everybody that's an exception to the rule, and that's the bracha, that's the mitzvah of Birkas Hamazon. Benching, saying grace after meals. V'chalta v'savatu v'rachta is a mitzvah min Torah to thank God, to bench after the meal. So everyone agrees how much you have to eat to require that. It's a machokes, whether it's something that you might only be obligated to bench midrabanan, but fundamentally, benching exists on a biblical level. So the Ramban writes, and also based on a Gemara in Brachas, and as well this Gemara compares it to Birkas Hamazon, the Ramban learns out based on the pasuk in the Torah, Ki Shem Hashem Ekra, Hava Godel Elokeinu, like we say before Mincha. When you call out God's name, Hava Godel, you should give a bracha. So the Ramban learns out from here that Birkas Hatorah is a mitzvah min Torah. Not only, of course, Talmud Torah is a mitzvah min Torah, but the bracha of Birkas Hatorah is a mitzvah min Torah. That's the opinion of the Ramban. And the Rambam, Maimonides, doesn't mention it, which leads to a major discussion in the Rambam. Why doesn't he mention it? Either because he disagrees, or you have to come up with a reason why he doesn't mention it. Or you have to come up with the reason why he didn't mention it, but really he agrees it's the right. So kind of like we had, we just mentioned last week, regarding the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. The mitzvah of living in Eretz Yisrael, the Ramban clearly writes it's an absolute obligation. The Rambam's quiet on the matter. So you have a different shitas in the Rambam, whether the Rambam agrees with the Ramban, except he counts it in a different mitzvah, or it's a fundamental, or the Rambam fundamentally disagrees. Those are different. So you have the whole gamut regarding Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. So you have something similar here, whether the Rambam agrees it's deraisa or not. That's the discussion. So some hold the Rambam hold it's only d'Rabbanan. So what is in the Kudas HaMachlokes? Assuming this is the Pshat. What is in the Kudas HaMachlokes, the Rambam and the Ramban, assuming this is the sheet of the Rambam, whether Birkas Hatorah is min Torah. Pashas, according to the Ramban, it's deraisa. According to the Rambam, it's Rambam. Why is according to one it's deraisa? So to understand that, we have to understand more what is the nature of the mitzvah of Birkas Hatorah. Is it with different categories of brachas? Is Birkas Shebach, both brachas of praise and thanking God. There's Birkas HaMitzvah, bracha we make before we do a mitzvah. And there's Birkas HaNen, a bracha we make before we get benefit in this world. So the Ramban says clearly that Birkas Hatorah is a Birkas Shebach v'Hodah. It's a bracha of praise and thanks that God, you gave us the Torah, and that's a din daraisa, like the Netziv writes regarding the Karban Toda, that there seems to be a lot of food to eat in it's usually, the Karban Toda is given less time to eat it than a comparable Karban, and you have more food to eat. So why is it? And it's right because there's a chiyuv of a sudas hodah. When you have a chiyuv to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you should do it in front of as many people as possible. Therefore, you have a lot of food that you have to invite people over. That's the only way you can finish it. But the concept of hodah we know is deraisa. So the Ramban, who learns it's a Birkas HaShavach, so therefore he says it's the deraisa. But the Rambam who holds it's a Birkas HaMitzvah. Just like most other Birkas HaMitzvah is only d'Rabbanan, it's a mitzvah on Talmud Torah, that's what the Gemara writes. Therefore, that would only be d'Rabbanan. So perhaps whether it's deraisa d'Rabbanan is a reflection on whether you hold it to Birkas Shavach or a Birkas HaMitzvah. If you hold it to Birkas HaShavach, it's deraisa. A Birkas HaMitzvah, it's only d'Rabbanan. My nafkamina, whether it's a Birkas HaMitzvah, Birkas HaShavach, Either way, I have to get up and make the bracha every morning. So that's what we showed them. The Achronim point out. One nafkamina would be is a woman obligated in the mitzvah of Birkas Hatorah. It's interesting. The Mechaber and the Rambam, but the Mechaber usually passes like the Rambam, and normally says on a mitzvah that women are exempt from, on a mitzvah women don't make a bracha. So the exception to the rule is Nashim Chayavas Birkas Hatorah. Women are obligated at Birkas Hatorah. Even though normally the Mechaber writes that they're exempt from mitzvahs, they don't make a bracha that mitzvahs are exempt from. Here here's an exception to the rule. So it must be, so someone seems to be working with the Ramban, that it's a Birkas Shavach Vodah, that's why women are chayiv. But the Rambam seems to be working with the same halach as the Gra. It's only a Birkas HaMitzvah. If it's a Birkas HaMitzvah, then women would not have a chiyuv to say Birkas Hatorah. That's why he'll interpret when it says in the Machaber, Nashim Chayavos Birkas Hatorah, it doesn't mean Chayavos, it means it's optional. So therefore, that's a fundamental machokes, which ties in, perhaps if it's the Raisa D'Rabbanan, but as we say, whether it's a Birkas Shavach Vodah, it's more of a reason to say it's a Deraisa. If it's a Birkas HaMitzvah, it's only D'Rabbanan, and therefore, with Shitason, the Ramban writes, the bracha is a Birkas Shavach Vodah, therefore even women are obligated. But behold, it's on the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, so technically speaking, women are exempt from the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. This would also be negated to the following question: can a woman be motei a man in Birkas Hatorah? It could happen any night, but let's say Shavuos night, all the men stayed up learning, and the woman slept a little, but she got up for Vasikin. So, can a woman go ahead and make Birkas Hatorah for a man? So, it would depend. If you assume like the Ramban, it's a Birkas Shavach, so on the same level as men, so then we can entertain them making the bracha. But if we're assuming that it's only Birkas HaMitzvah, they're assuming they're only Chayim Midrabanan, so therefore a woman would not be able to make the Birkas Hatorah for a man. Perhaps also another question related to this is the halacha of Hamaharer B'divrei Torah, one who has thoughts of Torah. In other words, you wake up in the morning, you're very excited, you have the Chiddush happening, and you want to go ahead and make a Birkas Hatorah. Do I have to actually verbalize my Torah before I make a bracha? Or can I make a bracha right away? So, interesting, the Machaber writes, Hamaharer B'divrei Torah, Eino tzarich bracha. One who's just thinking and learning doesn't have to make a bracha. The Vilna Gaon says, yes, you do. What is in the Kudas HaMachlokas? It seems to be the issue. According to the Machaber, who writes that someone who's Maharer in Torah doesn't make a bracha, it's going perhaps on the Chefsa Torah like the Raphaim, or it's on the Birkas HaShevach, so therefore you have to actually verbalize it. But behold, it's going to Birkas HaMitzvah, like the Grot. So thinking and learning is learning, so therefore one would be able to go ahead and make a bracha even on hearer. So that's another nakuda. But even the Machaber who holds a Maharer B'divrei Torah, Ein Tzarech L'Barach, even the Machaber agrees when it comes to writing down, when it comes to putting, you wake up, you got to put your Chidushei Torah on board. So even the Rambam, even the Machaber agrees, if you're writing down Torah, you have to make up the Birkas Hatorah. The question is, well, what's the difference? Why, if you're just writing it down, yes, bracha, but Maharer, but if I'm thinking, no bracha. So apparently the distinction is because when you write it down and when you're saying it, it's the ability, whether you're talking to yourself or not, doesn't make a difference. I mean, the fact that when you teach Torah, it's open to someone else, that by itself warrants a bracha. But mahara, no one else knows what you're thinking. And in general, we don't make bracha on something which is believed, so therefore one would not make a bracha on here, but they would make it on ksiva. So we gave them different nafkaminas on whether Birkas Hatorah is a Birkas a mitzvah or Birkas a sheva. Perhaps that's the issue, whether it's D'oraisa or Rabbanan. The question whether women are chayiv in Birkas Hatorah, according to the Rambam, perhaps yes, according to the Rambam, no. If a woman's the only one up, could she make the bracha? And also whether one thinks in Torah, according to the Mechaber, it doesn't want a bracha, but according to the Rebbe Nagon, it does, because it's going on the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. In the same way, you're talking and learning, thinking and learning is also a mitzvah. The law starts today, people don't think and learning, but thinking and learning is a mitzvah of Talmud Torah, and therefore, according to the Gra, one would make a bracha on Birkas Hatorah.